First Lady Michelle Obama is marking another fashion milestone. The Smithsonian Institution decided 2 dresses are better than 1. Jan Crawford is in Washington at the National Museum of American History. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning, Charlie, Nora, and Gail. Okay, so the Smithsonian usually only exhibits the first gown that the First Lady would wear in her first inaugural ball. And, of course, this white gown that we all remember Mrs. Obama wore 4 years ago, that's been on display here for the past few years. But starting today, the public will be able to see Mrs. Obama's second inaugural ball gown, and museum officials think it's going to be a big draw and what's one of the museum's most popular exhibits.
Ladies and gentlemen, my better half and my dance partner, Michelle Obama.
With that introduction last January, the president ended all the suspense. The First Lady was wearing red, a gown created by Jason Wu, the same young designer she chose 4 years earlier for her husband's first inauguration. After that big reveal, Wu talked with CBS This Morning.
And you're kind of the belle of the ball yourself, Mr. Wu.
Well, not quite as belle as Mrs. Obama.
Wu said he was floored. The First Lady selected his designs for both inaugural balls.
It was really just a wonderful process to be able to work on it and put so much into a dress that is a part of history.
Now, for the first time in modern history, people will be able to see a First Lady's second inaugural dress at the Smithsonian. It looks different than it did even when she kind of walked out there that night at the ball.
It does. It's
Lisa Kathleen Grady is curator of the First Lady's exhibit.
You get an idea of the texture of the dress, of how soft the chiffon is, and this beautiful sheen of the velvet, which you really didn't see as well, I think, on TV or even in a lot of the photographs.
The Smithsonian typically exhibits First Lady's first inaugural gowns. Grady says the idea to display Mrs. Obama's second gown came from visitors who kept asking, when can we see the red dress?
It's the tradition is that it goes to the presidential library. But the more we thought about it, we realized people were so interested in the dress. So we approached the White House and the National Archives to see if we could borrow the dress for a special one-year display. And they graciously agreed to lend us the gown.
So for 1 year, Wu is replacing Wu, his iconic white gown switched out for red. The red dress will look completely different in this room.
It will. It's going to look so different against this gray, but I think it's going to be the most amazing color contrast. It's going to be this beautiful pop of crimson in the middle of the room.
Now, Mrs. Obama's shoes also will be on display, but they're a little different than the shoes she wore 4 years ago. They're by the same designer, Jimmy Choo, and they're red, obviously, to match the red dress. But the big difference is the heel. They're about half as tall as the ones she wore in the first inaugural ball. So it kind of makes you think, after standing around and dancing all night 4 years ago, she's decided to go with something a little more practical the second time around.